Hey everybody, and welcome back. I've been on a bit of a hiatus, in case you hadn't noticed. This is episode 23 of my commission painting vlog, and 22 happened back in January. So yeah, it's been a little while. And you might be wondering, why is that? Why has it been so long? Well, let me tell you. The primary reason is because January kind of marks when my working life kind of changed a bit. Really, the change started in end of November and then into December. But January was really where I had to start dealing with those changes. Now, for those of you who don't know, I took an actual regular job at the end of November. And I actually work for the post office, and specifically because the post office right up the street from me, the one where I deliver all my packages for my commission work, was losing their regular full-time guy. Well, not really full-time, it's really more part-time, but the guy who was there all the time at the post office was going to a different post office. And I thought, he's not there that much. The post office opens generally at about 9, closes at about 1. I could fit that into my schedule, and then I'd have access to the post office all the time, which has its own benefits. And I'd get a little bit of extra money, which at the time seemed like a good idea because at that time of year, at the end of the year, my work always drops off. And this has been several years now where right at the beginning of December into about the end of January, work pretty much just ceases almost completely. And so I'm having to scrape to get bills paid and stuff. And it's kind of a pain in the butt. So the idea was I'd take this job. It gets really busy around the holidays, so that would work well because I am not busy around the holidays, and that would sort of make up the shortfall that normally happens with my work. In theory, great idea. And yeah, that post office is only open very short hours, and generally speaking, that's just fine. Now, the weird thing is it's open 6 days a week, and there's only one person that mans it. So that means I'd be working 6 days a week, even if those hours aren't all that long. Well, what I didn't realize entirely was that they'd be pulling me in as sort of a fill-in person to work sometimes at the post office, the sort of next closest post office. It's sort of, as far as I'm concerned, it's sort of my headquarters. It's like, it's where my boss works. Normally at the post office where I normally work, I'm all by myself all the time. But sometimes I got to go over there. And, sometimes it's usually just a few hours in the morning. All right, again, no big deal. A little bit extra money, that's fine. But then there's also Sunday mornings. Got to go in and sort packages for Amazon, which I was sort of aware of, but not really realizing that this was going to be my 6 days a week would turn into 7 days a week. And initially that was like every week until I kind of whined about it a little bit. And then it became every other week. And at the moment, we're sort of back on to every week again. But as you can see, this all makes trying to fit my painting in, as well as other things, a little bit more difficult. On top of that, in May, the beginning of May, I was actually working at 2 post offices every day. So I would do my post office, open it, close it, then drive over to another post office that's only open literally 2 hours a day. I would open that one, I'd go close that one, and then I would come home, and then I'd be able to paint. So as you might imagine, that even made it that much more difficult to really come into the shop, get excited about painting, be creative, and do my work. So, and I still did, but as the videos tend to be the other thing that I do, not the most important thing. The most important thing is getting my commission work done so the people that are paying me actually get their product in a reasonable time. I pride myself on the fact that I never push things back very far when they have to be pushed back. Okay, so that's the first of it. The other part of it is that at some point I was looking at how this was all working out and thought, this actually isn't quite so bad as I thought. I'll bet I could do more work on painting during the month. And I loaded up, I think it was March. April, sorry. I loaded up April with commission work. And sometime around like the end of the first week in April, I looked at my schedule and went, what was I thinking? What made me think I could do all this work? So, on top of everything else, I was really just trying to kill myself in here, trying to get my commission work done that I had scheduled for myself because I'm an idiot. So now, because I did end up having to push some of that back. I'm only just now at the end of May catching up on that. And some of you may have contacted me about work over the last few weeks. And I said, I'm not taking any more commissions until I sort out my schedule, which I thought was going to happen around now. And guess what? I did. Schedule's all sorted out. I'm going to be taking commissions again. All is well. Downside is I did realize that I can't take a full schedule of painting anymore if I'm going to keep this job. And for at least the short term, I'm going to keep this job. But what I've been thinking is that perhaps the interesting thing is that the job makes it so that I am less dependent on the commission work, obviously, because I'm making money doing this other job. Less dependent on the commission work, which in theory means that I could spend more time on things that make less money, like like the videos. And the truth is, I love doing the videos, sort of. I love doing the videos. No, I do. I do love doing the videos. It's hard to do the videos. Videos is hard. Me sitting here talking to you about this stuff, it's really tough to do it sometimes. I've actually recorded this video before. I did this episode 3 weeks ago. Recorded the whole thing, sat down to edit it, and I hated it. And there's probably 3 other videos that I've done since January that I felt the same way about, because sometimes I'm just not feeling it, and I'm not seeing the energy that I want to have when I'm on the video. And many of you would probably be like, whatever, it's fine. Just do what you're going to do. But if I don't like what I'm putting out there, I'm not going to put it out there. It's almost embarrassing for me because it's my face. And I know I've told the story before, but the very first time somebody said, "Oh, I've watched your videos," I panicked. I don't know why, but I just felt like, you mean people actually watch those? It took a while to get used to the idea that this wasn't something that I was just doing on my own and nobody was ever going to see it. Even though I was seeing, the metrics, the views pop up on YouTube, they were telling me that people are watching it. It's one thing to see some numbers. It's another thing to have somebody come up into your face and say, "I've seen your videos." And it's weird. So weird. But yeah, it's tough. And because I'm not a confident person. It's always been my biggest weakness is my lack of self-confidence. I think if I'd had self-confidence as a child, I'd be a much different person now. It's what's held me back on all of my artistic pursuits. Any artistic pursuit is that feeling that what I'm doing isn't good and that I don't have natural talent for it, and therefore, why bother doing it? And miniature painting is the only thing that I've kept up over the years, regardless of how I felt about my own abilities at it, that, well, I don't care because I'm enjoying it, so I'm just going to do it. And so here we are. And here I am talking to you about all of this. But my thinking is, though, to get back to it, because I'm starting to ramble here, my thinking is that I'm going to cut back on my commission work. I'm not going to stop it completely. I know that I have a number of regular customers that I think would be somewhat upset if I just said I'm not doing commission work anymore. No, I love it. I actually really enjoy doing the commission work. It's a lot easier for me to come into the shop and do commission work than it is to come into the shop and do stuff for myself. If it was something for myself, I will talk myself into other things that I should be doing rather than painting minis for myself. And it's a lot easier to paint minis for myself if I've just finished painting something for somebody else. See how that works? Because I'm already in the shop, and you know what? It's only going to be another hour that I'm just sitting here working on this. It'll be fine. So it all flows together. But if I cut back on my commission work just a bit and leave myself a little extra room to focus on videos, I don't have that feeling of, oh my God, I'm never going to get this done if I do a video, which is usually my best excuse to myself for not shooting a video. I don't have time. I got to finish this. I'm painting this right now. And if I don't finish this, the world's going to end. And so I don't do videos, and that's what happens. And so now what I'm saying is, if I make this conscious decision to scale back on my painting, well, on my commission painting, in order to relieve that pressure and give myself actual time to do the videos, I will do more videos. So that is my goal. And right now, interestingly, I won't say my schedule is clear. My schedule is light right now. I do have some things. I did make some promises to people that don't actually show up on my schedule yet. And I know that I'm going to have a ton of people who are going to be contacting me over the next few days, because I was telling everybody, hey, contact me on the 1st, and then, we can talk then. And those people have already started contacting me, even though today is the 30th. So I am going to have work, and the schedule's going to sort of thicken back up. But at the same time, I am in control of that. I can take what I want, and I can leave what I want, and I can schedule that however I want. And I should be able to leave myself more time to do these videos. So there we are. And that's the story for where I've been, the end. But not the end of the video. I have some other things I want to talk about. So why don't we get on to that? So while I'm not planning to go over everything that I've done since January in any kind of great detail, we should talk about some of the work I've done. That's one of the things I regularly do. And we'll just start from now and work our way backwards a bit. At the moment, my current commission is some pinups from Kingdom Death Monster. This one, I don't know how well you can see that. The lighting's a little weird right now. Well, let's do this just for fun. Oh, that's unplugged. So let's not do that. I got this new light. Like an octopus of lights. It's kind of fun. I have an idea about, because this is a floor mount, but I have this idea about making it a ceiling mount so that it would, could drop down to right about here. Right there. There we go. And then I could position the lights around where I need them most. Unfortunately, I don't know that I have time for it. And sometimes where I need the light most is back behind myself, so that wouldn't help that much. Let's get it out of the frame here. All right. Anyway, pinups, Kingdom Death. That's what I'm working on at the moment. And it's what I'll be doing when I'm done with this, too. There's two different people who have me doing some pinups. I am a big fan of, what is this one called? This one is called Beyond the Wall? Before the Wall. Before the Wall. It's a beautiful mini. The shield is really cool and interesting. The woman wielding the sword is very cool. She's not so pin-up-y as, well, she's not really one of the pin-ups, so that would explain the lack of pin-up-iness. And so it's a really fantastic model, and very happy with it. Of course, I did another fade. This is not the first fade that I've done. I like this model too, and I've mentioned this in the past. I don't know, the idea of a sort of a pregnant miniature, not something you would almost ever see, and it's pretty cool. And you know, she is a little on the titillating side, but I think she looks a little stronger than most, so that's pretty cool. I did the wet nurse. The wet nurse is pretty much straight cheesecake. I don't hate the cheesecake stuff. It's not my preferred thing, but I do like doing flesh. I do like doing flesh tones. I don't care so much if it's on, you know, a pinup style model, but as I'm getting better at flesh tones, I enjoy doing the flesh toned models, and you know, this is one of the places where I'm going to get to do it. On the other hand, the opposite of flesh tones is Percival, which is another not pin-up-y female. Pretty happy with how that one turned out as well. And then of course we've got the Christmas or the holiday pinup, which is just a freaky weird thing with the girl stabbing a toy bag, like a sentient toy bag, blood spurting out and his eye popping, and yeah, that's just weird. And then I also did these magma cannons with the Chaos Dwarves. I actually did a whole video just on the bases for these, but these, I'm supposed to ship these out today. Oops. Well, they're Forge World pieces. And again, back to, you know, more flesh tones, so I like that. And the bases I'm really happy with, and 3D printed the actual plastic bases themselves, so that was pretty cool. And we'll talk more about that in the, well, I talk a little bit more about that in the video about the bases, and probably talk a little bit more, even more about that on creating the bases in my next 3D printing video, which should be done shortly. So let's take a look at some other stuff. I've done some more Hero Forge projects. The steampunk one I thought was pretty badass. Really like that design. I love the idea that people can just sort of mix and match these pieces that they've created into their own unique minis. And the results can be quite nice. But I'm also very, very happy with this Reaper piece that I did, which is Astrid, the female chronicler, which is really just this, you know, chick with an electric guitar. The base that I created for it is actually from Warhammer Quest. I took a Warhammer Quest doorway and kind of chopped it up and turned it into this ruined arch that's supposed to represent like the Underdark. So really happy with how that turned out. I did manage to get in one piece for myself recently, and that is this vampire from Heresy Miniatures in bat form, and I like it. It's really weird looking with his elongated arms and flesh, and see, we're back to flesh tones and fleshy body. So that's pretty cool. And of course I did some Blood Angel Terminators and a bunch of Space Hulk Gene Stealers. Oh, and this Mechanicum Cerastus Knight Atropos. I'm not sure how that's supposed to be said. But that one, unfortunately, apparently took some damage in post in the mail, and required some work on the new owner's part to get it all back together, which is a shame. But you know, the big models especially, the weight of the model is its own worst enemy, and so it's really seems like no matter how much padding I put in there, it's possible for it to kind of hurt itself on the way if it's not handled delicately the whole way through. It's one of the reasons why I try to ship things as quickly as possible, like the quickest method possible, because then there's less chance of something bad happening. I did some keycaps. I don't know if you guys had seen. No, I don't think so. I don't think I talked about these much at all before. Keycaps is a thing, apparently. It's a thing where, people who are making their own keyboards create, and in this case, these are 3D printed keys with like little sculptures on top of them to replace some of the maybe less used keys on the keyboard. And I think it's neat. It's pretty cool. So I did this little kind of samurai helmet and this budai, jade budai. Let's see what else we got. Oh man, I did a whole bunch of old school Zinch disc writers, which was pretty fun. These are like sort of 80s, circa 80s, circa 90s Games Workshop minis. It was kind of a nostalgic project. And where are we? Man, we're still only in April. I've done so much. Well, let's take a look at Fanus Bone Collar, which is another Reaper mini that I'm super happy with. And I know I've mentioned this in other recent vlogs, and that's the Reaper stuff. I really have been enjoying it. The detail is so crisp and so well defined. And that is one of the problems with like the Dragonforge models, is that in many cases you're really trying to find the kind of hidden detail and bring it out. That's not the case in the Reaper stuff. It's all right there, and it's just really wants you to just apply paint, and it promises that it's going to look good when it's done. Let me show you a couple other things I did for myself, though. And I'll talk about this a little bit more when I talk about what I've been gaming. But Arena Rex minis. So I did Varger, who is a Native American mini. And if you don't know Arena Rex at all, it's sort of an alternate history game where the Roman Empire just sort of continued on. And so you see not only gladiators from all parts of the world that Rome never actually saw, but mythical creatures that obviously don't exist. But in this case, so Varger is a Native American with a super dynamic pose, and I'm very happy with how that turned out. And again, flesh tones, and really trying to work in darker tones is something I definitely want to feel. I want more practice with, darker flesh tones. And the Native American flesh tone is something that, like, trying to feel like I'm getting that right is tough. It's really, really tough. But my favorite piece that I've done is this Acerbis, which is a rhinoceros. And I'm super thrilled with how that turned out. And some of you might remember that I did actually a large scale, like 1/20th, 1/12th maybe? I can't remember now. But he was big, he was like this big rhinoceros, whereas this is a this big rhinoceros. And I tried to apply some of the things I learned from that experience to this model, again, on a smaller scale. But it is one of my favorite pieces that I own now. And I really do just enjoy doing animals in general. And of course, I did another set of Scythe Scythe Heroes, not Sith, not Star Wars. It's not Revenge of the Scythe. Well, maybe it is because it's another set of Scythe minis. And I like how those turned out again. Lots of animals. But also, again, we're talking about miniatures with very shallow detail that you kind of have to work at bringing out what's there. And Luminarch of Hyish. Hyish? I don't remember. But that's a very cool model. Sort of carriage of magical alchemy or something. I don't know. And, oh gosh. And then we go all the way back to February, where I did another one of these Gozanti ships for X-Wing, but in this case he was looking for a DHL style coloration, the DHL, the kind of the shipping company. And I did another set of the crates for it, the shipping crates, to go in place of the X-Wings that would normally go there. And I like how those turned out. Man, I did a ton of stuff. I'm just trying to figure out like what to talk about here that, I haven't talked about. You know what? That's enough. That's enough of the things that we've done. And again, like I said, I've got, one more. So this one's kind of done, I think. I'm just taking a look at it again. I can't remember what she's called. Oh, Warrior of the Sun. I've got this Warrior of the Sun that I've been working on, and this is what's this one called? The Pinup Order Knight is the last one, the last thing that I have to paint for this month. Okay, technically this is from April. But this is what, once I do this, I'm caught up for the month. So caught up, my schedule is caught up completely. So that's important. All right, let's talk about gaming, which I've actually managed to do some of over the last few months. There was a period there where I was playing a lot of Arena Rex. And, like I mentioned, having painted those minis for myself, part of it is because I'm really enjoying the game. It's nice, it's compact, doesn't take forever. No game really lasts more than a couple of hours. And I think in general, they're lasting about an hour. I started out with just a starter set and have been slowly adding a few more minis here and there to it. And I like that. I like that ability to, having just a couple of minis and being able to play a good game and then add another mini, and I have kind of a different feel to that game. It's fun. It's really cool. So that's been great. And I think Arena Rex is something I definitely want to do. If not a gameplay video, at least maybe an in-depth review of the game itself. But let me just say right now that I highly recommend it. And if you are into skirmish games that don't require very many minis, you could definitely do worse than getting into Arena Rex. Yes, the minis are a little expensive. Yes, the minis are a little delicate sometimes, but they seem to be getting their head around that. Some of the early minis were super fragile, and then they experimented with a almost GW-like kind of bendy resin that really kind of sucked. And they seem to have found their stride, and as they've experimented with various formulations for the resin, they finally came up with something that seems to be the right balance between flexibility, so it's less fragile, while still holding its shape. So definitely give it a look. Definitely worth your time. and I think it's great. The other game, of course, I've been playing is Song of Blades and Heroes. I talk about that one pretty regularly because it's one of my favorite games, and I continue to expand upon my undead force that I've been building for it, and just digging out things here and there to add to it and have fun with it. And it's just, and the vampire that I mentioned earlier on that I painted for myself, that is specifically for my Song of Blades army. And it's also fun because of the fact that it's a game where you are completely, it's up to you what your various units can do. You can play a game one day and go, you know what, that didn't quite feel right. I'm going to modify this so that, you know, everything acts a bit differently. And sometimes you discover maybe a power or an ability in the game that you didn't realize even existed. And so you, you know, you might want to just redo things based on that. I've also picked up a few games recently and hoping to play them. Rogue Stars is from the designer of Song of Blades and Heroes. It is a similar game system, but two main differences. One, it's science fiction, and two, the rules, while you can see its heredity and the fact that it is based on that system, it is highly modified. And I would say it's almost as if somebody who played Infinity had decided that, you know, I kind of like Infinity, but I'm going to redesign it to make it more like Song of Blades and Heroes. That's how it feels to me. And although I haven't had a chance to play it, I did just buy a bunch of minis specifically for that, mostly from Hassle-Free in the UK. They have a wonderful line of sci-fi minis that I'll use any excuse to pick up. I also picked up Shadow War Armageddon, which by any other name is Necromunda. Although having now read the rules in depth, like seriously in depth, with highlighter in hand to go over to make sure that I fully understood the rules, you can see that there have been some changes made, some additions made that sort of modernize the rules a bit. But again, you know, this one, it's almost a brother to the original rules. It's not a distant cousin. It's definitely, they're definitely, you know, close siblings. And I'm looking forward to playing that at some point. But of course, we also have 8th edition 40K coming out, and with everything I've heard about that, I find myself thinking that I may be getting back into 40K yet again. I first started playing it with Rogue Trader back in the day, and I've played at least a couple of games of every edition that's come out since, so I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, I don't think I played any of 7th. No, I did. I played maybe 1 or 2 games of 7th. Oh, yeah. But 8th, I have a feeling I'll end up playing a lot more of. And also with gaming, I should point out that I got a new computer, a new desktop computer. I actually got something that is kind of a high-end gaming rig, and so I have been playing video games again. And right now, that means primarily PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And if you don't know that game, well, it's a shooter to start with, but it's a more gamey shooter. You got 100 people. Let's look at it this way. You got 100 people. You throw them on an island. They get to kind of choose where they deploy across this island. You drop with nothing in hand. You try to gain weapons, ammo, armor, and other things. And then you try to be the last man standing, or last team standing, if you're playing a more team-based game. And even though it's on an island, every few minutes there's a sort of circle of death that slowly contracts into some central point on the map, and it's always different. And if you're outside of the circle of death, then you slowly, initially, or more quickly, just lose hit points until you die. So it's funneling everybody towards a central kind of final battle point. It's pretty badass, and I may end up doing a few videos of that. We'll see. I mean, the thing is, it was the computer that was always keeping me from doing gaming videos in the past. Some of you might remember that I did some XCOM videos for a little while, and then I had some computer problems which kind of put the kibosh on that. Well, I could do that again if I really wanted to, and I kind of want to, so I might. I'm actually just waiting. I'm going to be moving the computer into a different room soon that will give me the privacy that I need to be able to really do that. So imagine that that will be coming in the near future. As far as other things that might be coming in the near future, I recently picked up a tool, and I forget what you call it, but it's essentially, it generates static electricity. It's a little box about yay big. And you can put stuff on it, and you clip things to it, and you turn it on and generate static electricity, and you sprinkle static grass over it, and it keeps the static grass all pointing up the way you want it to point. And I've experimented with making some tufts with it a little bit, and it was a little bit of an investment, and I'm not entirely sure it was worth it. So I'm going to experiment with it some more, and I'll probably do that on video so that you can take a look. And, you know, I've never had that much of a problem with making my static grass look good on bases, you know, with just sort of using, you know, blowing on it or maybe a brush to move things around before whatever adhesive I'm using dries. But I liked the idea that this thing would maybe make it easier to just make tufts. And I'm not sold on it quite yet, but maybe that's just because I haven't played with it enough. So we're going to look at that. And I would like to maybe do some reviews of some other games. And again, we're going back to, if I'm setting aside more time to do videos, then perhaps I can do some of the things that I used to do that I really enjoyed, like game reviews. When my son and I were doing game reviews, I was really enjoying that. But when I stopped working in the store on a regular basis, my time to be able to put together those reviews was kind of taken away from me. So that became a lot tougher. So we'll see. And actually, Tim really wants to do Battlegrounds as well. So we might do those videos together, maybe a couple of duo videos. We'll see how that goes. I think the game would be more fun with him as my backup instead of doing it solo. So yeah, so those are some of the things. So some of the things you might look forward to seeing in the future. So I think I've rambled on enough for one video, and you know, I really want to thank you all for sticking with me. I know the past few months have been a little spotty, and you know, people keep watching my older videos, which is cool, but I always feel like I want to be giving you more and want to be providing more you know, help for those people who are painting and looking for more advice and things like that, and just feeling like I'm sort of giving back to the community. And not being able to do that was super frustrating. So it's nice to be back, nice to be doing this again, and more videos are coming. They really are. And I don't think I'm going to have any problem this time where I, you know, sit down to edit and go, no, this kind of sucks. No, I think it's going to be good. Oh, and the other thing is, you can't see it, but I actually have a computer monitor right here, because my old desktop computer, which I replaced with the new Uber computer, is now here in the shop, which means that when I'm done here, I can just hook this right up to this machine, download the video, and start editing immediately. Before, this was a whole production where I would come in, I would shoot my video, set aside everything for later. Then when I was going into the house in the evening, I would go edit. which I was generally doing in kind of the family room, which means I'd put on headphones and, people would have a hard time talking to me. It was kind of a weird thing. And it's a lot easier to just sort of take care of all of my work stuff right here before I ever go in. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go straight from here to editing, like right now. Right now. So I should go do that. And thank you all for watching. And I will talk to you very soon.